Alright. So God's been showing me this for a couple of weeks. It's in the book of James. James chapter 4, verse 7 through 10. And since I've been reading this for a couple of weeks, it's about drawing closer to God. But what I found out the other day, me and Anthony was studying it, because this is very harsh. And I kept saying, how am I going to tell this to people? Because for me it was harsh. I felt offended, hearing this. And then the background of it is James is Jesus' brother, right? And he wrote this to the Jewish people, to the church, right? And they already knew right from wrong. So whatever I'm about to read you, these people know right from wrong. That's why this is so harsh. And here it is right now. This is what it says. James chapter 4, 7 through 10. So humble yourselves before God. Resist the devil and he will flee. Come close to God and he will come close to you. Wash your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts. For your loyalty is divided between God and the world. Let there be tears for what you have done. Let there be sorrow and deep grief. Let there be sadness instead of laughter and gloom instead of joy. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up in honor.
Amen.
He calls us sinners and tells us to purify our hearts. And then I started thinking, okay, come close to God. What's the beginning of drawing close? Realizing you're at a distance.
Amen.
The distance, though, and Bladro shared this with me today. The distance isn't like Adam, you're in Antioch, I'm in Pleasanton. You understand what I'm saying? It's The distance could be you're in church, but where's your mind at?
Wow.
The distance is in your mind. What are we focused on? And then he talks about humbling ourselves. I looked up what is humble. And it means low. A low position, lowering yourself. So God was showing me we need to lower ourselves. And then he says, resist the devil. I looked up resisting, and this completely shocked me. It's refuse to accept. Now, it also means stand against defeat. So, refuse to accept what the enemy or your flesh has to offer. Stand against defeat. How do we refuse? By submitting to God, humbling ourselves, surrendering to God.
Amen.
And this is an example that came to me. If someone was to offer you drugs or a drink, they want to go clubbing, they want to do something, crazy. This is how you stand against defeat. So you humbled yourself. You submitted to God, but now you have to stand against defeat. Don't just, the second temptation comes knocking at the door, you open it. You need to refuse it. If someone wants to offer drugs right now, you would say, no, I don't want it. Now, if there was to pressure you into it, you stand firm.
You stand your ground.
You stand your ground. No, thank you, I don't want it. That's refusing to accept what the enemy or your flesh has to offer. Now, he said that our loyalty is divided, right? I looked up the word divided, and it means separated. When we are divided, we separated ourselves from God. When our loyalty is divided, we become disloyal. The definition to disloyal is backstabbing. Basically, turning our backs against God without realizing. How do we turn our backs on God? Every time we give in to temptation. Because the Spirit is going to warn us, right? We already know right from wrong. Mm-hmm. We know what not to do. So we're always going to hear that gentle voice tell us, no, not good. Dosta, stop. But if we keep ignoring it, so you're turning your back against God. And that's heavy for me. When you really look at it, we're backstabbers.
Really?
And then I was looking at the opposite of loyalty. Loyalty is faithfulness, being faithful, and bound. Like bound in a marriage. You're one. We need to stop being disloyal and become loyal. We need to be bound, one, together with God. And there's something that it says here, and I'm sure everyone had to feel this because I know I felt this many of times. He says that there should be tears for what we've done. Let there be sorrow, deep grief. These are feelings you do. You ever done something wrong and it don't feel right? You feel sad about it. You feel,
Grazie.
why did I do that? Yeah, grazie. You're supposed to feel that because if that feeling's not there, you won't know that it's wrong. But that's not supposed to stop us from coming to God. You ever felt unworthy? Because I did so many times. I felt unworthy where I don't want to go at the altar. I don't want to come to God. But look what it says though. And this is verse 10. Humble yourselves before the Lord and He will lift you up in honor. I looked up that word honor and this blew me away. It means high respect. God shows high respect to those who humble themselves before Him. We get high respect. We need to realize that we're at a distance. And we need to come low before God, knowing that we're nothing and we can't do nothing without God. I believe that if we come to God, everything He said, we could make happen. We could stop being separated from God and be faithful and bound. We could be one together with God. And then I started thinking, okay, so I know all this now, but what is the steps now? How do you draw closer? God gave me, this is what God showed me last night, what He revealed to me. 5 steps of drawing closer. 1, reading the Word daily. 2, worshiping daily. 3, praying consistently. 4.
Yes.
And 4 is a big one for me. Because I started doing this now and I seen how much easier it is. 4, giving God the battle when attacks come in our minds.
Wow.
The attack starts in the mind first. Temptation, whatever it is, it starts all in the mind first. But I realize that when you really just give it to God, completely surrender it, call upon His name, and give it to Him, He really takes the battle over. Because the battle isn't ours to begin with. It's God's. And then 5, seeking God no matter what, no excuses. Because, and I'm talking about myself, there were times where I'll pray later, but I'm watching TV. I wake up in the morning, but I can't give that 10 minutes to pray or read the Word. The first thing I need to do is I need to go to work. We need to stop with the excuses and make time, because we have time to go on Instagram. We have time to take the family out to eat. We have time to hang out with the boys. We have time for all of these things, but we don't have time to pray, to draw close. We need to stop with excuses.
Amen.
And we need to keep seeking God no matter what it is. And this is the steps that the Lord showed me about drawing closer. And when I read this, it touched me, knowing these definitions, knowing that humbled is lowering ourselves, knowing that being disloyal is backstabbing. And that made me feel bad. And that's what it's supposed to do. Because now that I know that, I want to apply that to my life. And I want to become loyal. I want to become bound. And in return, when we humble ourselves, He shows us high respect. So that's what the Lord showed me. And I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Amen.
I'm just about drawing close. Anybody have any questions before we close?
What's a tabernacle?